Hello, hello. This is Board Game Insider Savior, Ignacy Trzewiczek from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson, the complete slacker who, no excuses, overslept last week.
Do you
So
understand that this
above
is a
board.
professional podcast that we're supposed to do it a certain
I
way? And this is
I
the
have been the
Podfather.
most professional
This
until
is
now.
the Podfather of gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 351, and we're recording it on January 7th, 2025. Board Games Insider is proud to be powered by Board Game Geek. I love that. Gentlemen, the gang is all here. We've got
I
Slacker
know.
Corey arriving. We got double Slacker Ignacy here. It's just
No,
like,
Ignacy's the savior. He claimed the title.
he claimed it. Next time that nobody can make it, I'm going to do it alone just to show you how wonderful and professional a podcast could be without you two guys.
It'd be so
No
hard to
comment.
edit.
It'd be a great episode to edit. Gentlemen, let's actually get into this. And Ignacy, we, of course, will start with you. What is happening at Portal Games?
I have a bit of business news because exactly today I got information that my restock from Europe arrived to QML. QML is my warehouse in
In the
Florida.
US. Yep.
Yes. And I have list. Of course, I will not read the whole list, but just to give a glimpse of for our fans. So we restock, I think, all our Neuroshima Hex armies. So for fans of Neuroshima Hex, for a couple of years, these armies are no longer in stores because there's too many armies. So we have them exclusive on our website. So if you are a Neuroshima Hex fan and you are missing Desert Tribes or Merchant Guilds or New York or Pirates or any of these armies, we restock them. The information, these are small restocks because these are only for hardcore fans for our web store. So we are talking about the 90 copies. So if you are Neuroshima Hex, go to portalgamesus.com to grab these
And,
Neuroshima Hex armies.
and let
Or
me
we,
let me
yes?
ask you a business question to that. Did you basically send a pallet or something like that from Poland to restock the US? Is that how you did it?
No, we have like 200 copies of 51st State. So we have 200 copies of expansion for 11. So for the whole line, things that we are missing, we just packed on the small container, and it's
Okay.
like a restock of very different things. So a little bit of Thorgal, a little bit of 11, etc., etc.
So, but it came out of Europe, not out of China.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, see,
yes.
that's actually an interesting business decision you made because you
Hmm.
didn't do a reprint of everything. You just said, well, we have
Managing
stock in
stocks.
Europe. Yeah, and you just shifted around. So it cost you some money to do so, but you wanted to service the North American fans. So I think that was a good thing to clarify
Yes,
for
so
the
this,
business side.
yes, absolutely. This is the stuff for our website. So this is a small numbers for our hardcore fans. This is not going to the
Very cool.
distribution. We are just restocking the things that were missing on our web store. So go portalgamesus.com and you will see lots of things that were out of stock for a couple of months. So this is news of the week. The pre-orders and street dates, no pre-orders, no street dates, but PortalCon is ahead. We discussed this last week. January 18th, big press release from Portal Games. We will announce a couple of new products. I
Wow.
will do show again at the stadium. Lots of YouTube shorts and TikToks upcoming in a couple of days. So check it out. And as for the what's happening on my day-to-day basis, working on the press release to describe these games in a most awesome way. So they are tempting for our fans to check them out. So writing press release, preparing all the final covers, and playtesting. I was playtesting very intense for the past few days because, as we mentioned the last week, very soon I go to Nuremberg Fair for my B2B business meetings. And at these B2B business meetings, I will show these new games that Portal Games is going to release to our business partners in Spain, in France, in Germany, etc., etc. So I need these prototypes to be as awesome as possible. So I was spending a lot of time tweaking some final touches, and this was happening for the upcoming 2 weeks, and then Nuremberg Fair. So great time, very busy but very happy. This is a good busy. This is a very good busy. Mm, so good time at me.
Nice.
Wow. Very cool.
Corey?
Oh, I've just been running around like a lunatic. I do apologize. I wish I had an excuse about electrical storms and orphans on an out of control bus on a mountain road, but no,
No.
I had a bunch of friends over playtesting. Game designers were at the house over New Year's, and I overslept. I know, I know.
See, just let's get that on record. Corey
Just it's on record. I will admit. I
blew
will
us
admit.
off.
I I may have had too much fun too late. So I had Luke Laurie and Johnny Pack and Brianna Woodward and Karen Knobloch, Teresa Duringer, and uh, a lot of them stay up. So I was playing games till about 3 in the morning and somehow couldn't get up out of bed at 6 in the morning.
I can't imagine why.
But so it was a super fun time, played so many cool games, and then went back to the Sacramento house where Iridia Paths We Dare Not Tread arrived, which is a game I've been looking forward to for a while. It's Zaya, but the fantasy version.
Okay.
It is a massive, massive box. So I learned as much as I can learn on this campaign legacy game without spoiling things for myself, and then immediately flew off to Toronto. Oh, and there's only a couple of us here. Ryan Bruns, who works for Arcane Wonders, came early because he's going to have to leave early. I came to visit with Ryan. Marion McBride, friend of the channel, came. So it's pretty much just us. And we've played a couple games and gone to a couple restaurants. Played Skyrise, the new super high detailed version of the old Metropolis. I had never played this before. Really cool
Metropolis, old
mechanism.
classic.
Yeah.
Oh, such a good mechanism of spatially orienting an auction system. It's you put down a building with a number on it, and then someone has to put down a higher one in an adjacent area, and you keep doing that until someone wins the auction.
Oh,
Really hard to predict where you're going to win the auction, so where you're going to build your building, and it is area control. I really enjoyed it. And it was a gorgeous, gorgeous production. Roxley Games, I believe, put out Skyrise.
Mhm.
Went to an insane restaurant last night. If anybody's in the Toronto area, the Fisherman Lobster Clubhouse. It is a Asian Chinese restaurant, but it is in a giant hall that kind of rivals some of the smaller convention halls we have board game conventions in, with floor to ceiling fish tanks filled with crabs and lobsters. Massive sea beasts the size of
really?
couches. Oh, it's kind of like an aquarium, but then you eat the things you're looking at. I know that's a little creepy,
I don't
but
really like to get acquainted with my food before I eat it. So,
mine
I'm
was
funny
named
that way.
Mine was named Roderick.
Oh my God.
No, it was
What's
a
this place
fun
called? The
restaurant.
Fisherman Lobster Warehouse?
Fisherman Lobster Clubhouse in Toronto. It was really cool.
Wow.
And I had my the absolutely legally necessary poutine once I was in Toronto, but skirted the law a little bit and had a Desi Indian poutine with butter chicken. So it has been a whirlwind couple weeks for sure.
Very,
So
very cool. Well, over here at the Podfather of Gaming, I was in Orlando the last several days. Just got back yesterday, but before I left,
why
I
didn't you
did.
invite me?
Like, really? Really? But before I left, I recorded another episode in the very infrequently dropped series that I'm doing called The Podfather Loves. Dot dot
Oh,
dot.
cool.
Right? So I had done The Podfather Loves Dune War for Arrakis like 10 months ago or something like that. This huge box right here. And then I went exactly in the opposite direction with a new game that came out this year. The Podfather Loves Flip 7. I mean, it literally is the lightest of light games. You could play
Absolutely.
it with anyone, and it is awesome as a large group game, and that's where it shines. So I did that video. Very simple. You can learn how to play the game easily on by playing the video, by watching this video. And you will love Flip 7, I think, as your go-to filler large group game. So check that
Oh, it's
video
great.
out.
Yeah.
probably coming with me to Toronto. Then I went over to Orlando, and Paula and I did a few things. One of the things we did was
NASA.
one of the things, okay, I'll get to NASA in a moment. One of the things we did was we met up with her brother, stepbrother, who is Andrew Parks, noted designer. Core Worlds, he did with me
Yeah.
at
And
Stronghold.
Dungeon Alliance.
Dungeon Alliance is a game that he did completely on his own within his own company. Great designer, and he's got all these IP games. He just came out with Tales of the Arthurian Knights, which is a riff on Tales of the Arabian Nights, which I'll talk about in a second.
Yep.
I played with him. His prototype of a Lord of the Rings game. Now, I really can't talk about it. It's not even signed. First of all, it's not even signed, but he's got this game, and it was like so much fun to play. So it's set in the Fourth Age. You don't hear about games set in the Fourth Age of Middle Earth.
No.
So and all that data, all that stuff comes from the appendices. So there's some data
And
out
of
there.
course, you know about the letters that Tolkien wrote where he described the next book he was starting to write after Lord of the Rings.
There we go. All right. So Corey, who thinks he knows more about Lord of the Rings than me. Okay, great. Thank you, Corey. So we did that. That was a great time. But we did go to the Kennedy Space Center again. I love that place, as you know. And we had a VIP tour this time. Now, I'm not a VIP. I paid a lot of extra money to do this, but they don't do this kind of tour often. And you literally go behind the gates. You go and you're standing in front of the vehicle assembly building. You go to 39A and 39B, the most iconic launch facilities in the world, where every moon flight has gone from. Every space shuttle launched from there, and now SpaceX uses it for the Falcon 9s and Falcon Heavies. And we saw some just absolutely amazing things. We saw something that even the tour guide said, I've never seen this before. They were actually bringing out a rocket and its nose cone on a flat truck going to into the Space Force area. It was going down into where they're going to launch it from, but not part of the NASA complex, part of the Space Force complex. So possibly a military satellite type thing. It was very cool. It was coming down the road. We had to kind of wait for it to pass us. Very cool.
Wow.
Then I'll be up in Toronto, as mentioned, with Corey and a bunch of friends coming up very soon. It's coming up tomorrow. Talk about that next week. And then after that, I'm going to be the guest of honor at Mars Con in Virginia Beach. And that's January 16th to 20th. If any of our listeners are hearing this, first of all, go to Mars Con. Support the local con. It's going to be a lot of fun, gaming, and geekdom there. And if anybody comes up to me and said, I'm a listener of BGI, I'll buy you a beer. We'll grab a beer together. I'll buy. It's on me. First beer. So, but remind me I said this. Because I'll forget.
Because he might be a few in.
I might be 3 in already, but I'll buy you a beer. Come and hang out. Let's talk about gaming and stuff like that. And the last thing I'll mention is that Tales of the Arabian Nights from Play2Z, 40th anniversary edition, funded. I've mentioned this several times. It'll be the last time I mention it. But you can go late back it, and I highly recommend it. This is the classic storytelling paragraph game that's been printed by multiple companies, and now we're bringing it back in a new 40th anniversary edition with upgraded components and all that. It's beautiful. Go check it out at gamefound.com, and you can just type in Play2Z or Tales of the Arabian Nights. You'll find it. In the meantime, let's get to the event deck. Gentlemen, first thing we have here, I think it's the only one of these news articles I think I put here. It's that Hasbro signs a D&D gambling license. How interesting. Hasbro and its Wizards of the Coast division have reached an agreement to license Dungeons and Dragons to internet gambling company Games Global for the creation of gambling games featuring the brand the companies have announced. The first release under the license will be Dungeons and Dragons Tales of Riches. Surprising, from Neon Valley Studios in the first quarter of 2025. Additional games are also planned as part of the collaboration. Games Global will harness the world's greatest role-playing game to create an immersive, high-engagement slot experience, giving operators a chance to tap into the global franchise fan base, the company said in their announcement.
So these are video slot machines that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly that. The ones that have all of this amazing amount of interaction and stuff that, it's almost
Yeah,
it's like a video game almost. Of course, it's still the same chance, and payouts that you get on most slot machines. Probably you probably even get a lower payout on these because, they got to pay money to Hasbro for the license and stuff like that. But kind of cool. And Hasbro recently also licensed vegan footwear. So they're doing a lot of
yeah,
D&D related stuff that is not in the standard gaming space. Okay, why not, right?
yeah. I saw this from the company Koi. Brand licensing Europe was licensed with Koi Footwear, a vegan British design footwear brand for the EMEA region. And it says the initial range is 8 D&D themed footwear pieces, including Glabagool Gelatinous Cube Wedge Mary Janes. I hear all the words. I don't know what these mean together.
But it's pretty cool.
I I,
Pretty
I
cool.
just I want to read the names of some of these shoes. So other pieces include Draco Scale Chunky Stomper Boots, Uncanny Dodge Rogue Military Boots, Psy Black Mary Jane's Saving Throw Edition, Dungeon Dice Mystic Charm Trainers, Tira Mary Jane Shoes Shape Changer Edition, Song of the Rest Barred Flats, and
Wow.
Lot of Monsters Trident Platform Boots.
Let's move into the next
Just
news item.
I wanted to say that we used to report on this podcast about acquisitions from Asmodee, etc. But now
Now it's footwear from
what's
It's
Hasbro.
happening?
footwear,
It's been a while. What the hell?
vegan fashion footwear. I think we're beyond the days where it was kind of nerdy and unpopular to be into D&D.
Oh, it's well beyond that. So the next story here, I assume it was Corey put it here. Become a pinball wizard with Dungeons and Dragons: The
I
Tyrant's
I
Eye.
did not. This is not
Oh,
me. I'm
Ignacy.
excited about it.
So here's some gaming, but not our kind of gaming. Dungeons and Dragons pinball. What's going on here, Ignacy?
I have no clue, but it looks amazing. I watched the whole video. The company is releasing these pinball machines, so I guess you guys will be able to play them somewhere in America. It will not happen in Poland, that's for sure.
Maybe in my garage.
Maybe. But it looks awesome. It has a big dragon that splits the balls to you. So mm,
Oh, this is really
maybe I'm
bad to know
yes,
about.
maybe I'm not interested in D&D footwear, but I'm definitely interested in D&D pinball machine. It looks freaking amazing on the
So
promotional materials.
Stern Pinball is probably the largest pinball company right now in the world. They had become the only pinball company left. All of the big players, Gottlieb and Data East, had folded, and only Stern was left. But recently, and by recent I mean like 5 years ago, a little independent company, Jersey Jack Pinball, came up and gave some significant competition. They had really high-end pinball machines. So this is Stern, who had a bit of a reorganization trying to show that they still are king of pinball. They're grabbing really big licenses.
So, interestingly, it's to honor the original release of Dungeons and Dragons from 1974. The limited edition model of this pinball machine will be limited to 740 games globally. And Corey, it's only for a mere $7,000. So
It's actually pretty cheap on new pinballs.
you obviously need to own this. I will put you in
I need
touch
two
immediately.
of them.
You and Jeff Engelstein, one of you two, better own this. I'll be very disappointed if I'm not playing this game within the next year at one of your homes.
Wow, that's awful demanding. I
I,
expect to play the Elton John pinball machine from Jersey Jack at your house soon.
if you come to
You
my house,
guys
how about
are
this?
amazing.
How about this? If you come to my house, I promise you, we will play the Elton John pinball machine. How
You
about
found
that?
it somewhere
And
near your
this
house.
is what I'm taking this video on TikTok is a golden content, guys. Like this is beautiful.
Do you know? Do you know how I can guarantee you that? Because right here,
You found a bar or something.
15 miles from here is the Silver Ball Pinball Museum, where you can go and see all of these
Oh,
ridiculous classic pinball machines and play every one of them. It's not a museum
I
per se;
love
it's a
places like
museum
that.
because you're literally so you can play stuff from the 50s. Like, do you remember the thing where you pitch the ball with one thing and you swing the
Yep.
bat with the other one? That was the really like the oldest ones through like the 60s and the 70s, the Elton John machines, the Who machine, all this stuff, all the way to current stuff. It's beautiful. It's an amazing place, and you for $15 you can play all day. It's
I
incredible.
just I just wanted to mention to all confused listeners, yes, this is Board Game Insider, the business-oriented podcast. Um,
That's right. So let's continue with Catan. Catan.
I thought this was really interesting coming from Polygon.
Yeah.
Catan is getting their sixth edition. So this is not just reprintings, which are, impossible to count at this point. This is the sixth redo of the Catan series, and this includes the game Cities and Nights and Seafarers. It has new art on tiles. And what's really interesting is it comes with a plastic vacuum form card organizer for the decks. So it's got a nice little setup thing going on. So Catan, of course, foundational to our industry since 95. Um, and now a new edition. So it's still alive and doing well.
They're considering this like I said, a sixth edition. It's 30 years since Catan hit the market and changed the market, right?
Yeah.
Let's just give them the credit that Catan essentially changed the market worldwide into our hobby as we know it because it got picked up worldwide and it is the highest selling game in the hobby gaming, and of course it's crossed over into almost into mass these days.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
So interesting Easter egg in the thing, which I was in this Polygon article, I think is really cool. So the new art has on the cover a little old gentleman taking a hay truck driven by a donkey, and that is actually Klaus Teuber driving the hay truck, the original designer of Catan. Klaus, sadly passed away a
Yes.
few years ago. His son is now running the Benjamin Teuber is running the development and redos of Catan. So the Polygon article is really nice. It's got a little interview with Benjamin Teuber. So little Easter egg on the cover when this comes out.
Very, very cool. So we have something here about also from Polygon. Gundam fans are getting a tabletop game. I don't know much about this IP at all. So why don't you tell us about it, Corey?
I didn't put it here. This
Oh,
is the
more
big
Ignacy.
novelty. I know
I'm
Gundam
back,
and
baby.
Bandai are really big video game
Ignacy
people,
is back
but
with a vengeance. Two
I
articles
know.
here.
Look at
I
this.
really don't because you said you put the other one there. So I'm like, all right, this must be you too. Ignacy, what's going
No,
on
I'm a
here?
slacker.
Yeah, so this is big news in the miniature games area because, of course, we know Games Workshop, we are reporting on it regularly. There's lots of independent, smaller publishers of miniature games. But here we have a huge company from Japan who says, well, these miniature games might be interesting. Let's do miniature game for our IP. So obviously, I don't live in Japan. Obviously, I don't know much details about the business details about the company, but the whole IP, the Gundam, is a huge. It is like a Japanese mechs. It is
Yeah.
based on the very famous franchise in Japan. I have no clue how it will translate in Europe. I don't know how it will translate in America, but this is for sure huge. As a big, huge company is entering the space that is basically monopolized by Games Workshop so far.
And so it's going to
Yeah.
be the same kind of thing where you buy miniatures, you create armies. I mean, I don't know
Well, it
how
sounds
it's
like Gundam, this new Gundam game, Gundam Assemble, is a tabletop game with minis.
Yep.
But they
okay.
also are branching into all these other directions. They have a collectible card game that they're releasing soon. Uh, so Bandai with Gundam is going crazy and entering the board game space.
Very, very interesting. last thing I'm gonna bring up, which something that literally hit my desktop right before the podcast, is the Embracer Group, parent company of Asmodee, which we talk about, of course, all the time. They're doing a reverse stock split of 1 to 6. What does that mean? That means if you have 600 shares, you're going to get 100 shares. Isn't that interesting? It's a reverse stock split, and that's in anticipation of doing the spinoff of Asmodee and Middle Earth Enterprises and their electronic gaming. These stock splits are mostly for internal accounting purposes, and sometimes when they're the other direction, when you get 6 shares for having one, it makes the market think that good things are happening and stuff like that. So, reverse stock split coming from Embracer Group. If you own some stock, your accounting of your stock is going to change. In the meantime,
The honor of the podcast saved. We had some business information today. Good for you, Steven.
there you
This
go.
was all business.
All business all the
There,
time.
yeah, there was shoe business. There was slot machine business.
Oh,
There was lots of business, pinball
oh,
business,
You know,
business,
I'm
business,
and
business.
I have to change what I just said. A reverse stock split is exactly the opposite of what I just said. So normally a stock
Oh
split is
my God.
I just know I want to make sure that I get it
It's a
right for everybody.
consolidation,
When I
right?
when you have a stock split in general is when you have you have shares, you have 200 shares and they're valued at $100. You're going to get half of it. You're going to get you they're going to double your shares, but your stock price is going to go down because they want the stock price to be lower.
Yeah,
Here you're getting the exact opposite because the stock price is going to go up, and they just want to they want to
yeah.
do this for accounting purposes. Sorry, guys, I just said it the opposite
I
way, but
think you said it okay the
did I
first
say it
time.
okay? All right. It's a
Yeah.
reverse stock split. That's all it means. One for 6 instead of 601. Let's get over to strategy and tactics.
Well, all right.
All righty now. So we got Scott from Australia who's at Shambles. I used to go to a particular gaming event each year, CanCon, and looked forward to it each year for 20 years. It was an 8-hour drive each way and a 3-day event. I had an amazing time and looked forward to it each year. I stopped going due to COVID and my friends dropped out. My question is there a particular event you look forward to more than any other each year? So, guys, this could be a personal event like Corey and I'll be at, or it could be a convention. Is there any one event that you really just look forward to? Could be good for business, could be good personally. What do you think?
It kind of changes year after year. Often the one that I've just been to is the most exciting one, but I think consistently the gathering is on my list as a convention I really, really look forward to. Gamma was on the list for a long time because I meet all business people and everybody in the industry who I haven't seen in a long time. But after it moved from Reno, which was very easy for me, all the way to Louisville, Kentucky, it got harder to go. So it
Ignacy,
it it varies.
Ignacy, you're not a big traveler slash convention person. You mostly don't like them. Is there anyone that you kind of look forward to?
First of all, I travel a lot for my taste. I travel to many conventions, uh, but not as many as you guys, obviously. I go once a year to the Wargaming convention. It's called Wargameron. It's held very close to Warsaw, capital of Poland. And this is a convention for like 100 people, maybe 150 people. So very small convention where we play these ridiculously long and complex war games from GMT and DVG and all this crazy stuff. And I go there as a private person without a booth, without business, just with my collection of games that I love and I want to play. And each year I wait for this weekend of absolutely craziness, playing a game that, for instance, the last 7 hours and like 10,000 little chips and very complex rules and tables, and this is insane. And this is the weekend to be insane. And I'm looking forward every year
That's
for this
funny.
convention.
Very cool. And I'd have to say mine is the gathering of friends when I just see all of my friends, the industry people, people I've invited, people who've been going for all this time. Love that. Sadly, I will be missing it this year. Well, I'm really sad because I'll be on a cruise in Southeast Asia. So I think I have a good excuse for missing it this year. But after that, it's the smaller ones, like the Dice Tower Retreat is wonderful. It's like 200, 300 people. It's nice, compact.
Yeah,
We
it is really
hang out.
fun.
We have a good time doing that.
So
Eric,
you travel enough that every travel is now superimposing on the next travel.
yes, that is absolutely true. That is 100% true. Eric Longenbach from Sweden, he's at Lagnus, good friend of the show. He's always posting questions. Someone runs into the room and say they will eat all the cookies on earth, ban import of board games from Japan, and turn all the beer into Mountain Dew unless you right now pick a game to be reskinned to a new IP theme, maybe with a small rework of the mechanics. What game gets a new skin
Wow.
and why? So basically he's picking all of the things that would make us crazy. Ignacy with the cookies, me with the beer, Corey with his crazy imports from Japan constantly.
Ah.
But that person won't do it. If we can reskin one game, what would it be? I can't think of one.
I'm prepared. I have the answer for this question. So many years ago, 10 years ago, Portal Games released a game called Legacy, The Testament of Duke de Crécy. This is a very, very, very old, amazing Euro game about building your family. You were having your children and you were making marriages and bringing new people to your family and building the wealth of your family. And back then, when we were working on this game and preparing for SN release, we were discussing that would be cool if we have a Godfather license, because bringing into the family all these people and making marriages between different families and creating the biggest family in terms of the mafia in Chicago, that would be super awesome. So Legacy was finally released as just a regular game about making your family. But we always have in mind that there was an option, if we have a lot of money and contacts, to make it as a Godfather testament of that kind of
Wow.
stuff.
Corey?
I think I would probably pick Village, the old game from Inc. and Marcus Brandt.
Yep.
It is such a cool game with unique mechanics. It's an action selection with cubes out of a bag, but every time you place workers in these places, the workers age and eventually die. And I think for a generational legacy story, something in one of these established IP universes, something like Dune or Lord of the Rings, where you could have a generation after generation, I think it would be amazing. I think that would be really cool.
Okay, on the fly, as I looked around, if you were watching this, you would watch my head
Quick, look
looking
what game's
around,
behind you.
and I came up with one. It would be Betrayal at Rivendell. So the Fellowship is there at Rivendell, and you're playing members of the Fellowship, of course. And one of you somehow goes insane while you're in Rivendell before the Fellowship was even formed. And then you
Wow.
must be stopped. Betrayal at the House of Elrond. I
Definitely
love it.
not Boromir. Not Boromir.
Would
Don't even
not
look
be
at Boromir.
Boromir.
Not, no, definitely not Boromir.
I'm super surprised that you picked the Lord of the Rings theme. What a
Yeah,
shocking
I
I
know.
pick.
know, I know.
Shocking. Shocking. He,
I kind of didn't want to mention Lord of the Rings as an IP, but
Eric also then says, and then he just kind of says like how Seven Wonders Duel got a Lord of the Rings theme, so he was just qualifying with the rest of this. So thank you, Eric. Adrian H from Australia at Crikey the Cat. When it comes to advertising a new game, I will admit I'm a sucker for the way crowdfunding sites get in my head. It shows me what the game is, the components look like, briefly how it plays, shouts slogans and reviews at me, and plays to FOMO. It also doesn't require me to check on websites, newsletters on multiple different companies, or attend conventions in other countries. It's a one-stop shop for telling me there is new stuff that I should be excited about.
Kickstarter's
Whilst
not a store. Kickstarter's not a store.
Whilst
Sorry, I
obviously
got negative.
something like BGG will also tell me what's hot, it doesn't show me why it's hot. I have to click on the game, read the forums, etc. Click blah, blah. Assuming you agree that crowdfunding does a pretty good job of advertising games from different companies and genres, what do you think does it next best? I wish the answer was board game shops, but its experience may vary. Uh, Sub question: why do, don't board game publisher websites have some of the look and feel of a crowdfunding page rather
I
than just
I
showing
actually
pictures on a
think a
box?
lot of them do. A lot of them do show off their games pretty well. But you have to hunt them down. You have to go to their website. Um, so my answer for this would be either the box itself, because the back of the box really should elicit that excitement, should show you what the game's about, what the game looks like, a couple key things that make you go, wow. That's a really good advertising thing for me when I'm out and browsing shelves is the box itself. Um, and then there's a whole world of videos, and they are unfortunately a whole bunch to filter through.
Yeah.
YouTube videos about board games. You have to be good at separating the wheat from the chaff.
Uh, so the reason that the crowdfunding sites, Kickstarter being the biggest, GameFound second, do what Adrian is saying so well is because they get there and they're presented as sales platforms, essentially. They're presented as a marketing event for many,
Yeah.
many, many, many companies. So it's easy for people to get there and then look around. Well, what's the biggest funding thing? What's what is the thing? What is the genre I like? So it's all right there, trying to sell it to you heavily. Um, what does it second best? It's gonna be Board Game Geek. The publisher websites can't do that because they're so diverse, right? There's hundreds, thousands of them, and it's old catalog stuff. It's mid
Yeah.
catalog. It's some new. So it's
I
whole.
do get his point that I feel that publishers should have a Kickstarter style exciting hype page for their current games.
Yep.
They should keep up with that. And most do. Most do.
Ignacy, any
Yeah,
comments?
yeah. So yes, as Corey said, for instance, Portal Games. If you go to a website of Portal Games, if you go to our web store, all our products look like they are at the Kickstarter. So you have exactly the same layout as in the Kickstarter. So the cover, the video, the components, etc., etc. So this is what we learn from crowdfunding. That's for sure. And as was other big advertising platform besides Kickstarter, as Steven said, Board Game Geek. Board Game Geek is the place where so many people are checking. And obviously, we know that at Board Game Geek are only crazy alpha gamers. But these are these people who make then all this splash and they talk in the gaming club at the convention. So we need these core hardcore gamers to start discussing about your upcoming games, and then other people will learn about that. So winning the attention of players at Board Game Geek is the key. Of course, Board Game Geek, the homepage of Board Game Geek has already a couple of things that you need to put attention to. Of course, we have the hotness. So every day there is an update what's hot. We have these most anticipated games before Gen Con, before Essen, before Nuremberg Fair. So there's a lot of places where gamers put their eyes and check what's hot, what's hot. And this is a spiral thing. Obviously, if something is hot, then it gets hotter and hotter and hotter and
Right.
explodes, obviously, and
Yeah.
goes viral. So Kickstarter, yes, GameFound, yes, and Board Game Geek website. These are three websites that you need to understand if you want to run business in this industry.
Very, very cool. All right, Ignacy's telling us that we have to get on to play testing. All right, Corey. So last week you did give us the question again, as usual. And what was that question?
See, I wasn't even here and I gave you a perfect question.
You were not here, but you've lined up questions for us. So
So
what
I've
was that
wondered about
question?
this a lot. When teaching a game to new players, is it bad for the teacher to win? So my own feeling on this is if you're teaching a game, or when I teach a game, I get more invested in other people's play. So I tend to give a lot of hints and I tend to not win. But also, if you teach someone a new game and absolutely decimate them, it might not be a fun experience for them. And your goal when you teach someone a game is to have it be a really fun experience. So I'm on the fence. It's not like a blatant, I will do dumb moves in order to lose, but most of the time I am focusing on helping them play their game more than I'm helping me play my game.
I think a good teach ensures that the players are learning how to win. Karen from Canada,
Yeah,
Karen Ola here, says, doesn't teaching a game include teaching the player how to win? And she was agreeing with most of the other comments, which we're going to get to in a second. So I teach the game and point out at every time we're moving through the game. Well, that's a move you can make if they chose to do something, but you can consider this and this and this as well, which are all good. And maybe I would do this one if you'd like, just to keep them engaged. And I would like to see them win when I'm teaching a game, but I'm not going to throw the game, so to speak. I'm going to play a decent game,
sure.
but teaching them the best ways to play.
I like the answer from Eric, our listener, who said about the player that you are teaching, right? He said, if they want to win the game the first time they play it, then they should read the rules. I have spoken.
I like that. Um,
Um,
But I had a very interesting thing happening yesterday. We were in my gaming club, and the one person was teaching the game the other person, and the teacher decided that he has a couple of different armies in this game, and he chose the army that he plays the least often, and his opinion is the weakest army to play. So he didn't pick the best army just to crush the opponent, but he said, I have a couple of armies. I will play today with the army that is the weakest, so you have some chance. So this was approach. Of course, it was possible because in this game there was different armies to choose from.
cool. Guido Van Horn wrote, I wouldn't use the word bad, but as the teacher, my goal is for everyone to understand how to play the game, including paying attention to what is going on and pointing out misconceptions that may lead to a disastrous game from my pupils. But the
yeah,
truth is, I'm often teaching and learning the game at the same time. So this is a really good summary of what I was saying before. I mean, I think he said it a little better.
very good. Trainer Bobandi, um, from Iceland, says no, but it's a good idea to commentate your moves and explain why you do what you do and try not to steamroll new players. That's basically exactly my feeling too. I commentate why I'm doing things and
Oh,
I give
sure.
advice to what they're doing, especially in the complex games. If the game is very, very simple, in Flip 7, we're not gonna you don't have to do that. It's pretty obvious what you got to do or not do, up to you how you want to play it. But I've taught Terraforming Mars a lot recently, and it constantly commenting on how the things are going is a good thing to do. Risa K says, I don't think so. Of course, with caveats like everybody else who's commented here. The teach is good and continues through the game if the new players want help and advice. And two, the teacher isn't using information that should be hidden to make decisions, i.e., knowledge of another player's hand. All of that stuff is
I
very, very good.
remember one of the worst plays of a game I've ever had was Junta back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a lot of weird stuff going on in Junta, but literally in the middle of the game, I was very proud of myself. I was a new person. I said, I'm gonna go and I'm going to assassinate your guy trying to deposit his money in the bank. And the teacher of the game said, you can't do that. It's Tuesday. And the entire table just went silent. Like this felt like such a random thing pulled out of the ether, and it's my forever example of withholding information.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So for
So
next week, we have a question
yeah.
for everybody. Corey has been creating these questions. So Corey, I'll
Oh,
let
did
you.
I come up with another question?
You did, you jerk. Go ahead.
This okay. Do you own a board game that is too valuable to play? So
And
related to this, What is your most prized possession, most rare board game that you own?
Your most rare. I put those, you created both of those questions. I put them together because they seem to be quite related. I'll go first if that's okay.
You said
First,
I put so many in, you put two of them in at once.
yes, I had to do because they're related. They're very related. Most people will answer the same for both of these. Um, my answer to this question is no. I don't own a board game too valuable to play. In fact, War of the Ring, the collector's edition, is standing there less than 10 feet away from me. It is valued at thousands of dollars. Now, there's no number that you can pick, right? Because no one's selling it. I mean, when somebody last bought one, it was probably 5 grand. I don't know. A lot of money. I play it anytime I get a chance. I believe games are made to be played. So if you've got a
Yeah.
game that is too valuable to play, I don't know. Probably you should sell it if you think that it's too valuable to play.
Well,
Um,
have you ever considered getting another edition of War of the Ring to play and this one just to show off?
no, I will play with my copy of War of the Ring, the
That's
collector's
awesome.
edition. Of course I will. I will always play with it here. I don't transport it. It's too fragile to transport, but I play it here. And to continue with the related question, what is the most rare board game you own? It actually won't be that. The most rare board game I own is Crude the Oil Game, its first edition, which was only about a few hundred copies were made by James Saint Laurent. Yes, that was his name, Saint Laurent, I believe he pronounced it. And then Stronghold Games went out and we got the license and we redid it with Pegasus Spieler. They called it McMulti again, and we called it Crude the Oil Game because it was a huge game in Europe, in Germany, and didn't really get a US release. So we then released it. And the original copy is somewhere in my shelves. And it is very rare and kind of cool to have. You
That's
gentlemen,
cool,
what do
man.
you guys got?
For me, I will show it the next week because I have it somewhere on my Kallax and I need to find it. So next week I will show what is this game. But as for the do I play games or I'm scared that I will destroy them? I play games and actually I like my games being a little bit used. Like I feel that there's
Ah,
memories, and if
Yeah,
somebody spoil the coffee or wine, I don't care. Like this is a moment that I will remember. So of course, I could buy a new copy of Citadels, but no, I'm playing the copy of Citadels I bought in 2006 or 7, and it is completely worn out, and I love it. And of course, we have lots of fun with that. So I don't care if the game is used. Actually, I prefer it that way.
very cool.
in general, all my games are for playing. If anybody finds any game on my shelf and they want to play it, it's totally fine. I do have a couple signed games that I've bought a duplicate copy of so that I don't play the signed one. So probably the most valuable one I have is I have a first edition Mechs versus Minions, which was signed by the entire team at Riot.
Pretty cool.
Very
And
cool.
I have a second copy that I actually play. The most rare board game, wow. I have a weird Japanese board game based on a German fairy tale that's called The Bremens. And for some reason, it has a Beatles theming art on it. Uh, it's rare and it's fun and it's goofy, but I play it all the time. It's
Awesome.
a very bizarre board game.
Awesome. So right now, Ignacy is going to create a thread on Board Game Geek where you can answer this question that we have just asked you. Please go over to the guild and find the playtesting thread for this question and post your answer. And in the meantime, we'll get to the final scoring. Thank you all so much for listening and help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts or watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be part of this podcast, you can go over to our guild, make sure you're a member, and ask us questions for strategy and tactics and answer our question to you from the playtesting segment. It's easy. Come on, go do this. Be part of the podcast with us. Interact with us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube. And the handles are the same everywhere. Board Games Insider, Portal Games US, Podfather Gaming, Dice Tower Dish, Play2Z Games, Above Board TV, and Nerd About Show. You can follow us on the social media platform of your choice and speak directly to us on all of those. Special call out, of course, to the YouTube channels Portal Games Studio, The Podfather of Gaming, and Above Board TV on YouTube. We really love to see you in person at an upcoming convention. We're now in the low time for conventions. The next public one, well, I'll be at MarsCon, as I mentioned, for those in Virginia Beach. It's a small one. 1,000 people or something like that. Hopefully see you there. After that, it's going to be a little while, but we'll, of course, let you know when we hope to see you at those conventions. Board Games Insider was professionally edited by Jake Thompson. Thank you, Jake, for being part of the team. Also, that great voice you hear doing the intro, the outro, the in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. Contact him to do your voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Gentlemen, this brings us to the end of another podcast. Any special news, anything that you want to mention to our audience that they would not have known about unless they were listening and waited to the end of the podcast?
Wow. I just want to say that I'm in a hotel room, so I am not legally obligated to be wearing pants at this time.
Yeah, that thought was not something I needed to have. Wow.
I'm so happy I am back.
He's back. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.
Bye bye.
See you later, everyone.